You are a robot, aren't you?
That is correct, sir. For your convenience, I am monitored to respond to the name Robbie.
Take your stinking paws off me, you damn dirty ape!
Greetings, Starfighter. You have been recruited by the Star League to defend the frontier against Zur and the Kodan Armada.
Yeah.
Get ready. Prepare for blast-off.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
Mugwump Tower, this is Albatross 1-3, requesting permission to land, over.
I don't need a computer to tell me how to land a damn airplane.
6.
Heads-up display, check.
5,
Lasers, check.
4,
Particle beam, check.
3,
Photon bolts, check.
2,
Chair control, check.
1.
Let's do it.
Broadcasting from a secret underground location somewhere in Mos Eisley. This is the Docking Bay 77 podcast. Make yourself comfortable. The show is about to start. Hello and welcome to the Docking Bay 77 podcast. I am your host, Dayton Johnson. Welcome to our fourth and final episode looking at sci-fi movies through the decades. The first movie we covered is considered the godfather and template for the modern sci-fi motion picture. Then we traveled to an upside-down Earth that utilized on-location shooting to give us a sense of scope and world building. Then we met friendly aliens in a film that made use of light, color, music, and special effects as much as the story of the characters as well. Now we travel to a trailer park and meet Alex Rogan in a film that made use of practical effects while pushing the boundaries of CGI in its infancy. Join us as we travel from Earth to Rylos in The Last Starfighter.
Come on, Alex, they're here!
Alex Rogan had a dream.
You really are leaving here, aren't you?
To be as far away from here as possible.
You get your chance. When it comes, you gotta grab it with both hands.
It started with a game.
You gonna bust the record!
But it wasn't just any game.
You have been recruited by the Star League to defend the frontier against Zur and the Kodan Armada.
And then, one night...
Centauri's the name. We have to talk about a matter of utmost importance. Step into my office. I've seen him come and I've seen him go, but you're the best, my boy. Light years ahead of the competition.
Hey.
Alex didn't find his dream.
Hey, look out! Oh, dear.
His dream found him.
Where are we? Welcome to Rylos, my boy.
A world on the brink of destruction.
You were recruited by the Star League to
defend the frontier against Zur and the Kodan Armada.
Of all the life forms, on all the planets, in all the galaxies.
Oh my God!
One has been chosen. Alex Rogan.
Alex?
Hi, Max.
Is the last Starfighter. For every Earthling who's ever imagined traveling beyond the stars.
Maybe there is a Starfighter left.
I love you, Alex Rogan.
Comes the unforgettable story of one who made it. The Last Starfighter.
Let me introduce the rest of the Starfighters joining me on this quest. First, my very own Grig, Disney John. How's it going?
Thank you. I appreciate that compliment. I am doing extraordinarily well, and I'm very much looking forward to this one.
Very cool. And my little brother Lewis and his Playboys, Liam Lewis. How's it going?
Oh, it's going great, brother. How are you doing?
He may not look like him, but he does have that energy. Our very own Otis, Mike Vermillion. How's it going, Mike?
Well, great, guys. Happy to be here.
And the lovable con man, the alien with the Blade Runner inspired ride, our Centauri. It is Scott Hoffman. How's it going, Scott?
Hey, good. I don't know if I'm supposed to be here. I was playing the Docking Bay 77 video game, and
Did you get the high score? Did you break the record?
Yes.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, so before we get into the movie, I have a bunch of let's call it podcast business to take care of. First of all, I want to announce the people that got some of my top 5 Spotify Wrapped bands correct. Lauren from the Beard Owl podcast guessed, she guessed Rush, and she got that right. Amber Lewis got the Beatles, of course. Eric Brock guessed Rush, and that was correct. And Def Dave also got the Beatles correct. So my top 5 Spotify Wrapped bands, according to Spotify, the ones I played the most were Rush, Shinedown, Cinderella, Thin Lizzy, and the Beatles. Now, the fun part was the top 5 songs apparently that I played the most included Jailbreak, Cowboy Song, The Boys Are Back in Town, which are all Thin Lizzy, More Than a Feeling, and Hotel California. So I blame all of those songs from my 1976 playlist that I was listening to that inspired that series. But anyway, moving on. So we had a response in our top 7 1970s movies. Jason Coslet reached out with his list, and it's quite an interesting list. So we have Beneath the Planet of the Apes, The Poseidon Adventure, Star Trek the Motion Picture, Capricorn 1, Apocalypse Now, SOS Titanic, which I have never seen, and Dirty Harry. His honorable mentions are both Young Frankenstein and Blazing Saddles. Both good choices there for sure. Great list. Thank you, Jason, for reaching out and sharing your list with us.
Jason, good to see that you have great taste like I do.
Oh, jeez. It's always about you, isn't it, John?
It is 100%. Have we not figured this out, people?
But you don't have your own hashtag. So anyway, moving on.
Oh, burn.
That's okay. I don't either. So it's fine. It's fine. All right. Goodness. So The Last Starfighter from 1984. Let's hit some opening thoughts. And when and where did you see this for the first time? So Disney John, you get to start.
I'm old as dirt, so I remember watching this in the theater with my friends. I remember going up.
Oh, I'm so jealous.
Up to Northgate Mall and going to hit the theater and watching this. I mean, it was like so cool. It was like the best CGI that you've ever seen until I watched it, again recently. But it was like, I mean, it was stunning, and you're just like, oh, the story's so great. It was very 80s in everything about it. It was such an 80s movie. Hot girl, they're all going to the thing, and the poor boy can't go. I mean, it was just like, it just, my God. And it could also be the reason why I may have wasted a lot of my life on video games, hoping for the same thing to happen.
Nothing wrong with that.
Just one more time.
All right, just one more.
Miss Pac-Man is going to show up any minute. I know it.
Any minute. I really wanted Princess from the Dragon's Lair.
Oh, there it is. Princess Daphne. Ooh.
Yeah, you know it.
Yeah. That game just ate my money, and I was so bad at it. Anyway, Liam, opening thoughts.
Well, my first time seeing this movie, I don't remember where exactly I was, but I definitely remember the when. It was like the perfect time of year to be watching it, because it was one of those like hot summer nights.
Okay.
Where it was like not too muggy, but like not cool at all. And so it kind of like puts you in the right mindset where like you feel like you're at this trailer park.
Right.
And so it was a team effort between my mom and my Uncle Sam. It was my mom's idea to watch it, but my Uncle Sam had the copy
Gotcha.
like at the time. And so I remember being like really like blown away in a weird way because it took me a while to warm up to Star Wars just because like they showed me that when I was like 4, so like lightsaber go boom and everything else is boring. But this one I grew to appreciate Star Wars, but this one I got like at the right time where I was like I want to say like 7. So that's the point where you're starting to figure yourself out, and that whole like, you got big dreams, but you can't go nowhere. And so then all of a sudden you're off on this intergalactic adventure, and it was just and I'm a sucker for a good ship, and
Yes.
oh the Gunstar. Oh, it's beautiful. But yeah, so I fell in love with the ship. I was sucked into the story. Because it was just different.
Yeah.
It just felt very different to me. And I really enjoyed that.
Awesome. Mike?
So I was 13 in my hometown, and we went to the local cinema, and I remember watching this movie. And the cool thing is the local cinema had the Star Wars video game.
Right.
And so, you're sitting there wondering, like, is Star Wars going to recruit me if I really hit the high school on this thing and stuff like that? I mean, it's just, but what a timely tie-in with video games were just starting to really break loose big time. And what a great storyline to make a movie out of. Right. So I was totally into it. I was the right age to be into it. It was all something. And like was said earlier, it's a totally 80s movie. It really is. It's all the notes. But I remember seeing it, and this is the first time I've seen it since then.
Oh wow! Okay,
for the podcast, yeah.
All right, Scott.
So I don't know for sure, but I feel like this is one of those times when the teachers would want to kind of take a little bit of a break, and they'd wheel in the cart with the TV on the top and the VCR in the middle.
Right.
Like batteries not included and all the Kurt Russell Disney movies and all this other kind of stuff. I feel like I saw this in school at some point.
Really?
Yeah. Which is weird. But yeah, I mean, it does hit at that point, and it hits at a certain age. Like you can see like through Lewis, like, it hits a bit of a range, but it feels like there's a little bit more of that, it's really a movie that Lewis would look up to more than Alex.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, and speaking of like when video games were just starting to get big, and yeah, you go to Aladdin's castle and you're like, ooh.
Nice reference.
Yes.
A lot to admire. I will say that I took a trip to Museum of Modern Art in Queens, New York, and they had the original Star Wars game.
Really?
With all the polygons and all the, kind of loose rendering, but yeah, it was pretty cool to see.
Very nice. Very
So
nice.
what about you, Dayton?
So I'm actually a bit ashamed it took this long for us to discuss this movie. I mean, after all, I have a sound clip from it in our opening of the podcast, and I bought the movie twice. So I apologize for it taking so long, but unfortunately, I did not see this in the theater. This was very much a cable watch. This is very much, going to the local video store and go, oh, I've seen this like 3 or 4 times already, but I'm going to watch it again. And because I liked the idea of this kid that, was just a little bit older than me that could, was good at video games, at least at this one. And he gets sucked into this world, and it was very cool. And yes, the computer graphics at the time were great, and you're like, oh, I can't believe how awesome that is. Look at those ships. And yes, I completely agree. The Gunstar is fabulous. Check out our Ready Player One book edition episode where I picked the Gunstar as one of the ships I would have for my character. And I love the video arcades. I spent so much time in those, so that brought it out to me. It was just a fun movie. it's one I watch every couple of years at least. And to me, yeah, I notice things that aren't perfect, and I have some complaints, but it's still so much fun, and I enjoy it a lot, and it always leaves me happy when it's over. Like I'm like satisfied, I feel good, and I'm like yay, and yeah, it's been a fun movie forever. I've never once not wanted to watch it. You know, it actually beat out some other things. Want to watch this or this? No, let's watch Last Starfighter again. You know, 'cause I've only seen it a dozen times, so let's watch it again. You know, anyway.
Well, I mean, it's got that very typical 80s ending where it just all ties up so nicely. It gives you the warm fuzzies and off you go.
Yeah, but at the same time, it has a lot of the same beats, but at the same time, it doesn't. To me, it doesn't look like an 80s movie in the way that Spielberg was always, you know, it's always in suburbs, and Lucas was actually in space all the time and whatever. It just, this one felt a little bit more real in a weird way. Because I love the
get
place.
what you're saying.
Well, I like it was in a trailer park. I like that it was, you know, somebody trying to be something besides that. And then, you know, but anyway,
I told my wife that that's like the 80s way of showing how poor they were. Because, I mean, they didn't actually
Yes.
say they were poor, but I didn't see an air conditioning. Everyone's windows were open.
Yep.
It was always, you know, your air conditioning was the breeze that happened to come through your trailer. They obviously were not rich in any way, shape, or form, but that was how the 80s dealt with that. They didn't come out and say, look, these are poor people. You know, I mean, this guy's coming from a very bad background. It's just, no, pay attention to the cues around you, and that's how you know, figure it out.
Right. Well, I hope I don't step on Scott's production history, but I know initially the story had him in a suburb, and the director changed it because he didn't want it to be too Spielberg, you know. So, but yeah. So anyway, moving on.
That's the fact, Jack! That's the fact, Jack!
It's time for That's the Fact, Jack. This is where we discuss facts about the production history and about the movie. So, Scott, production history, sir.
So, from what I understand, according to the screenwriter Jonathan R. Butel, I'll try to say that right.
Sure, that sounds right.
Got the idea from seeing a kid in a video arcade and happened to be reading The Once and Future King by T.H. White, and thought of that kind of Arthurian legend and how that would apply to somebody that, you know, is playing a video game and kind of gets sucked up, which is why they've got that Excalibur test reference from the Centauri talks about. So the director is Nick Castle, which any 1978 listeners recognize as The Shape. This is directorial follow-up to Tag, the Assassination Game, with Robert Carradine, Linda Hamilton, and apparently Forrest Whitaker in his movie debut. That's such a random pull. Nobody talks about that movie anymore.
I was going to say, I never heard of it until I started doing the research for this.
Oh, yeah. It's crazy. And 2 years after writing Escape from New York. Now, as I understand it, Nick also wanted to try as much as possible to stay away from, you know, it's really easy to drift into the Star Wars kind of world, the ET kind of world. And with Suburbia being that backdrop, very much wanted to make it something else, which the trailer park, I think, is the perfect setting there.
Yep.
I feel like it makes it a lot more of a grounded movie, right?
Yes.
That it's definitely that kind of aspirational place. You've got to fix everything yourself, and where do I kind of go from here? So I think it was a great choice. Starring Lance Guest, Robert Preston, Catherine Mary Stewart, and Dan O'Herlihy. Shot in just 38 days, which I thought was kind of surprising. When you look at how much computer graphics, I guess it's not that surprising. But most of the footage created by Digital Productions, of creating a total of 27 minutes of CG effects, which is a lot at the time.
Yes.
A lot of computer graphics, a lot of 3D rendered models. All the Gunstars and the ship designs were by Ron Cobb, who had a hand in things like Alien and Star Wars and Back to the Future, which is easy to see given Centauri's car. Practical effects by Lance Anderson and Gene Winfield. Had a budget of $15 million, released on July 13th, 1984. Opening weekend didn't do too bad at just over $6 million, and overall grossed more than $28 million. So I think it did all right. Moderate critical success at the time. Eventually developed a cult following. Obviously, is we're all here talking about it.
Yeah.
So
yes,
continues to hold up.
Yes. Also, a couple other facts. This was the final feature film for Robert Preston. He did do some TV after this, but this is his final feature film. Considering his career, that was kind of, I think, I always look at those swan songs for those older actors, and as far as I'm concerned, this is definitely a good movie for him to go out on. So,
Yeah.
And I did read that everybody just loved having him on the set. He was so friendly and positive, and people really enjoyed being around him, which I can totally see.
That's cool.
And I guess the character Centauri was written with him in mind, with the whole Music Man reference.
Yes.
So I think that's just brilliant. So since our Robert is not here, I'm going to bring up Broadway because he's really good at doing that with a lot of our episodes.
Yes, he
so
is.
This
Is it a Sondheim at least?
No, it's not Sondheim.
Oh, okay.
I'm not quite that good. No, there was a musical adaptation of this movie, believe it or not, was first produced at the Storm Theater off Broadway in New York City in October of 2004, with music and lyrics by Skip Keenan and book by Fred Landau. In November of 2005, the original cast recording was released on Kritzerland label. So, yeah, I'm not sure how that worked, but I'm kind of intrigued.
Right here in Rylos. I'm sorry. That's all I can have in my head now.
Right here in River City.
Right. Yes, love it. So in the credits, it promised that Atari was going to release an actual Starfighter game, which of course it did not happen, but there were many home console and computer versions in different iterations released over the years. Versions for the Atari 2600 and 5200 and the 8-bit Atari computer were developed, the latter being tweaked and renamed Star Raiders 2. A prototype for the 2600 was to be named Last Starfighter, was already in development at the time under the name Universe, but eventually was released under the name Solaris. In 1990, an NES game titled The Last Starfighter was released, but it was actually just a conversion of Iridium for the Commodore 64 with modified sprites, title screen, and soundtrack. Now, there is a freeware playable version of the game released on PC in 2007. This is a faithful reproduction of the arcade game from the film, features full sound effects and music from the game. The creators of the game, Rogue Synapse, have also built a working arcade cabinet for the game, which is pretty cool. I would definitely want to try that. All right. Was there any other things that people found that they want to share before we move on?
I actually had 3 little bits. I think it's fascinating that holy grail of the Atari Last Starfighter game just could not happen, because I don't know about anybody else, but I feel like the logo for the Starfighter Legion kind of looks like the Atari logo.
It does.
And
very
wouldn't
much
that have
so.
been a cool commercial to have you have the whole commercial and you zoom in on the Legion logo and it fades into Atari.
Yeah.
That would have been such good commercial, and it was such a wasted opportunity. My mother pointed out that the actress who plays Maggie is in a fabulously over-the-top movie called Night of the Comet.
Yes, I know
I don't know
that
if anybody
movie.
knows about that.
Yes.
But my mom gave me the skinny on the premise of that movie, and it sounds just wonderful, and I can't wait to watch that with her. And I found it very funny that Zur is basically just Viserys Targaryen from Game of Thrones in space. He's been given an army by somebody else. He's waving his little scepter around like, I want my crown, I want my empire, and no one's taking him
I think you just broke Disney.
Oh my God, you did! That was amazing, because that's exactly who he is. Oh, Jesus Christ. Wow. What a pull.
Just want Robert Preston to pour molten gold on his head.
Wow, that was beautiful, sir.
All right, Disney John, do you have something?
So there was to be a belated sequel of The Last Starfighter that was first discussed back in 2008, when Steven Spielberg was said to have expressed some interest in directing it, but there were complications surrounding the film's rights, so they kind of shelved it for another decade. And then back in 2020, October, it was confirmed that the rights were being secured and a script was being written with screenwriter Gary Whitta, I think.
Whitta, yeah.
Yeah, claiming that the film will be a combination of a reboot and sequel that we think honors the legacy of the original film while passing the torch to a new generation. So 2023, and I know COVID kind of happened, but I see them pull that off the shelf and make that happen.
At one point, the storyline was going to be about Lewis missing his brother.
I want the
that would
baby
be very
brother to
cool.
go to space.
Yeah,
that would be so
interesting.
awesome.
That would be interesting.
He's standing on the box, working so hard at that game.
and being as bad as I was at, right, moving on.
All video games.
Me too, Dayton. Me too.
Well, I think with Zur getting in the escape pod, it left an opening for a sequel.
Oh yeah,
100%.
Yeah, I was like, that was one of those things that I picked up on the first time seeing it. Was like, oh, this opens the door for a second movie.
Yeah, that was a very 80s thing to do, because that was the idea. If it was successful, they're going to make a sequel, because they did the same thing with Flash Gordon. They had that, ending where somebody picked up the ring, and of course that never happened. And yeah, that was a very 80s.
Well, it's also a very 80s thing, not doing a sequel. So
well, but anyway,
one quick thing that I was wanting to mention, and I found this interesting. Will Wheaton is in the movie.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know where. I go back to watch it.
So my last viewing, I specifically tried to find him. Now, according to what I read, the opening sequence, he's the kid in the red jersey. Now, okay, sure, but he had lines that got cut. So, but he's supposed to be Lewis's friend, and at the end, he's supposed to be in a blue shirt. But I can tell you right now, I looked for him at the end, and I could not find him.
I went back specifically looking for him. Anytime Lewis was in a scene where there were kids around, I'm like, I don't see him. So I figured the same thing, that all his stuff ended up on the cutting room floor, but he was still credited because he was paid to be there to say lines.
Yeah.
So I think to Will Wheaton's credit, he deserves a role in the new movie as the guy who's the curator of the arcade museum, and the only way they can get to the Starfighter machine.
That's a great idea.
That would be so good.
Oh my.
See, somebody just needs to give us money so we can start producing these movies that we come up with.
So who would play the new Centauri?
Oh, that's a good one for comments. Because I mean, one of the ones that I'll say a controversial pick, Hugh Jackman.
Oh, that would be terrible. I wouldn't hate that. I was thinking,
well, he just did a Music Man, so
yeah. Well, he did Music Man. Who's Matthew Broderick? I thought too, because he also did Music Man, and I could see him doing the pattern stuff like that.
Yeah, that's true. I could see that too.
That'd be musical chops.
That'd be nice tie-in because of War Games and the whole 80s.
Yep.
So yeah, that'd be a good one. I could see that.
I was curious. I mean, because I was just like, man, if they did this, it's like, okay, they have to have somebody who plays Centauri, because Centauri was like old, not in age wise, he's just older than everybody else. It always seems like alien races got it figured out. They're like 300 years old. It's like, and he's young. I'm like, screw you. Like, I'm 50 and I'm like, death is coming, I mean, it's like on the horizon now. So I'm like, I want to be an alien.
Yeah, I'll pass. All right, let's move on. It's time for That Was Totally Wicked. These are things that we love about the movie. So, Liam, why don't you tell us something you love about The Last Starfighter?
The thing that totally knocked my socks off that I forgot about, because, I haven't seen this movie in a long time. So, it left a big impact. I remembered Greg. I remembered the Gunstar. I couldn't remember what it was called, but I remembered the imagery of the Death Blossom. But the thing that I completely forgot about was the music. The music is killer in this movie. It just it really hypes you up and keeps you in the moment. It's it pairs with the scene really well so that it's not distracting, but at the same time you're sitting there in the middle of this space battle God, this is a banging soundtrack.
Yeah, I know. I did read that the person doing the soundtrack, and I apologize, I can't remember his name at this point, but he wanted to take John Williams and go bigger. It was his plan.
He succeeded. It was
I think he did a pretty good job. I think not saying he's better. I'm just saying he achieved what he was going for. So that's pretty impressive.
He achieved what he wanted.
Yes. Very good. All right, Mike, something you love about the movie?
I like the whole conversation where they're talking about living in caves and living in a trailer park.
Yes.
And he's like, they're caves that move. And I'm just like, what an interesting concept for an alien to have to process. It's like caves that move. What? And I remember that even as a kid.
Yeah.
The first time I saw it, I thought, wow, how would we explain to aliens kind of some of the stuff that we do and stuff like that? And so I like that part of the movie. It's obscure, it's kind of silly, but yes, caves that move. That's awesome.
Yeah, I like how he says we live in it's a mobile home is a cave that goes anywhere, but we never went anywhere. I just like it.
Oh, it's
sad.
And it
Yeah.
describes his sorrow. Oh, it's heartbreaking.
Right.
Yeah.
I like that tie-in because it did describe his life.
Yeah,
And like,
yeah.
That's his pathos. That's his
Yeah.
whole.
That's his thing for sure. Yeah. Scott, something you love about the movie?
Just one thing.
We'll start with one. We'll come back around.
If I'm going to pick one thing, it would have to be Grigg for several reasons. I think Dan O'Harley, like when I see him on IMDb, he's automatically bringing me back to RoboCop and Halloween 3 in that order, right? Completely disappears in this makeup. Absolutely gets swallowed up. And you do not recognize him at all, especially the performance. I'm trying to picture Dan with no makeup doing the same performance, and my brain just won't let me go there. It's kind of like, what if we put shoes on turtles? Like it doesn't work. And his character design specifically always pulls me in because like if the Last Starfighter is the mozzarella sticks, then Enemy Mine is the pizza, right?
Yep.
You're right.
They're hand in hand. I really want to see Enemy Mine every time I see this movie.
Yes.
Or just look at the poster. It just brings me right in. And I think that was his performance did such a good job of it wasn't making it too kid-like, but he was so likable and kind of that, lovable mentor kind of role that it seemed like it felt like something a kid could kind of embrace.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So I just think his inclusion as a character, his whole top to bottom, I think Greg was well done.
Yeah. I love his laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very good. No, actually I had on my list the makeup for all the different aliens. Considering what time it was, and like they were all very, when he sits down with the other starfighters, they all were very different. It wasn't like they just slapped some masks on people and whatever. They did a good job making sure they looked very different. But one of the things I really liked is the production design of Rylos, and the headquarters, whatever you want to call it, because in a time of Spielberg and Lucas, whatever, it could have been very easy to make it look like that. But it's like they kind of specifically said, no, we're going to do this. A lot of flashing lights, a lot of, chasing lights and different, they created a different alphabet and did a really good job making it look like its very own place. And so I thought they did a good job with that. I really do love the Starfighters uniforms. They looked very cool. And I'm like, man, I wish I had one of those for Halloween. That would have been very awesome. So, it did have, as far as the computers, whatever, it did kind of have an 80s level look, but at the same time, it did stand on its own. So I really enjoyed that. All right. Disney John, something you love about the movie?
The story. The story is what drew me in. The story is what kept me there. And I loved that feel good ending that happened. So for me, it was just really the story and the culmination at the very ending. And, like, no, I'm not going to go with you. But wait, Granny. And then,
Well, and
go on, dear.
You're right.
Yeah, right. Yes, exactly.
You're right, or whatever they do there, So
yes,
and that's what I think is I really do enjoy about it was that, yeah, it was it dealt with a lot of themes that were relatable to a lot of people, being stuck in the, where nobody thinks much of what you can do, or being afraid of change, and that's kind of like what Maggie represented, that she didn't, she was afraid to leave the trailer park, she was afraid to move on, and Alex's mom, she was like, I know he wants to go, but I didn't expect this. And, she's having to deal with, being a single mom and there was lots of themes in the movie that I thought was, relatively pretty 80s, but at the same time, well done and made it interesting
Well,
for
I
us
mean, they had to deal with the teen themes too, because it was like out with the friends and being the awkward dude out. That was me. Every time that we would go out with friends was me. I was the awkward guy going, out of nowhere. Right. So
poor
I mean,
Beta
like,
trying so hard to
I
socialize.
know, right? But it was that kind of stuff that I also thought that was a different level. Like, it was definitely written with teens in mind. Like, they were definitely targeted a specific age group, and I mean, I was that age group, and that I targeted me, and I mean, I remembered it, so it hit right. So
See, I just hung out with a lot of awkward people, so we all felt, that's just how
just
it worked.
normal.
Yeah, it felt better that way. So
we could all be weirdos together.
Yes.
And in the back of a truck with a bunch of people that just laugh at random noise. Like, what's happening?
So you mentioned Beta. I do want to call out that I guess in test audiences, they really liked that character. So they went back and shot some more stuff to add more Beta. Now, at that point, Lance Guest had already cut his hair and he's actually was sick. So if you notice when it looks like his hair is different because he's wearing a wig. So like this,
I did notice that.
Yeah, when they're hanging the antenna and stuff like that. So they added the stuff because people wanted more Beta. And I think that was a good choice because it was a great character.
Yeah. Especially the so just quick warning when he's rendering or whatever you want to call it.
Yes.
We talked about this before. That was nightmare fuel. So just
did not like caution. That.
Oh God, that was unsettling. I didn't even notice. I forgot about the Christmas lights blinking on the thing that was kind of warming up. But the scene where he's adjusting his head.
Yes.
That was very, very well done. Like, you know what's happening. You can see the wires, but you don't care because it's just cleverly designed.
Yeah. I compare that one to an Alien, and how that one looks so much better than the one in Alien, and I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. But yeah, no, I love that scene because, Lewis, what the hell is going on?
Yeah,
you're having a horrible dream. Go back to sleep.
Well, they could have run that character in a very different way. Like, there's always the awkward, obvious alien is saying, "What does a fork do?" But the fact that he had, he was taking things in stride. He was had a sense of self-preservation, right?
Yes.
Like, he was like, I don't want to get blown up. Like, this is a job. I'm not just here to, just a replicant. So yeah, I think that was a good choice to bring him back.
Yeah, and with his I like that he was dealing with social issues, like social cues. He didn't understand certain things, which to a point, a lot of people kind of relate to that, and I think that's more fun than him, not understanding what a door or something stupid like that, or a toilet or whatever. So
should I put my tongue in your ear now?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, instead of the stereotypical unfrozen caveman lawyer shtick, it was something like, no, this would be an actual obstacle that this robot would come up against.
Yeah,
because he's been prepared for everything except for this.
Right.
Yep.
Very good.
And let's take a minute to give Maggie some credit and to tell Alex, if you didn't already know, marry this girl immediately. Aside from the fact that Catherine Mary Stewart is gorgeous, this girl, what she goes through in this movie, and she still sticks with him, all the Beta stuff, and she still goes into space with him. Well, we just got to rebuild an armada and risk our lives and retrain a bunch of aliens, but it's going to be really cool. And she's like, yeah, okay, marry this girl immediately. Do not let go.
Gonna have to fly everybody to Rylos for the ceremony. But anyway.
Hey, sure. Yeah.
All right. Does anybody else want to throw out anything before we move on?
I just want to build on what Liam said about the logo. I thought it was fantastic. I think somebody it looked like an Atari logo split by a lightsaber with a Romulan warbird mustache. It is such a cool, iconic logo.
All the cool sci-fi nerd things rolled into one image.
Right?
Come on, AI, just put all that together in one logo.
Nice. I love it. All right. Let's move on.
No, sir. I didn't like it.
It's time for No, Sir, I Didn't Like It. These are things that we don't like or don't work within the movie. Mike, what's something that doesn't work for you?
I really tried to watch this with this in mind because I was like, okay, everybody manages to see these things in movies, and I guess I just get warm and fuzzy with it, and I can't embrace something.
I'm with you, Mike.
Okay, so I really couldn't. I was enjoying it, and I'm like, I'm not going to pick any particular scene that just really poo-pooed because it didn't. And so I like the movie. There isn't a scene where I'm just like, no, this doesn't work. This is terrible. Take it out.
All right. Scott.
For me, it's kind of a toss-up, but I'll be good and I'll say one thing.
Right.
The Rylands Lobot hair.
Yeah.
There's I know it's it's an alien species, just relax, but man, did it just the goofy bells just kept going off.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I kept thinking Cindy Lou Who? Like that's what I kept thinking.
Oh, well, okay.
Which was just accentuated when the giant Zur Wizard of Oz head comes up and is just floating in the middle. Oh God, I was poking the screen with that a couple times.
Yeah, that's actually kind of funny. It's funny. I have quite a few things, but nothing.
Of course you do.
Well, nothing about their head. It was kind of funny. No, actually, you mentioned the Zur hologram. Why does the wind blow when the hologram shows up? I'm like, everybody's like, "Ooh!" I'm like,
because the fans on the producers for the light. I mean, they have to get hot, right? So they have to put fans on them.
Okay, thank you, John.
I'm here to help you.
Wow.
It just doesn't make sense. It just felt kind of silly.
Those are the winds of change.
Yeah. All right. Whatever.
They probably fixed that on the ship, but Zur is a jerk, and he was just like, "I'm going to crack into the code and make the fans go."
I'm breaking wind before I break in.
Oh, exactly. Boo.
I said I want a dramatic entrance.
Yeah, don't even get me started. Whatever. Okay, so Disney John, anything doesn't work for you?
Yeah, actually, I have literally only one scene, and this is after my second time watching it, that I was just like, oh, you know what? It was when everyone from the trailer park gathered around back to picked off a 99-yard pick six. Because, let me tell you what, it seemed a little out of place, and it never happened to me when I was playing my freaking video games at freaking Aladdin's Palace. I'm just saying, it's not realistic.
Well, there's nothing going on at the trailer park, so
it's not realistic. It's nighttime. Everybody has already got their teeth out. They're on the bedside stand. Everybody got to put the teeth in. They got to run up the damn hill. No. That's not how this works.
Yeah.
It might have been Lewis, maybe, and the girlfriend because she just came in there. Other than that, there ain't nobody running to the top of that damn hill to go watch this this boy get the top score on the game. They don't even know what a video game is at that point.
All right. Interesting.
That was the only thing, literally the only thing out of everything, although the hair is a good one. That I was just like, this would never happen. This is not, I don't care how close your community is. This would never happen.
All right. Liam, something that doesn't work for you?
I don't like the prolonged shot of Beta's metamorphosis. I don't think wow. I get it. You guys made a really great effect. It's so cool. And you're like, we pay good money for this effect. God damn it, we're gonna use it for as long as we can.
It's only on screen for 2 seconds.
Yep.
It was 2 seconds too long. No, it's a good 15 seconds just holding on this pulsating, oozing mess. Pod people are a thing for me too. So I don't watch it. That's what I didn't like about the 70s. One of the many things I didn't like about the remake.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Body Snatchers.
It's beautiful.
No, I don't need that to go on any longer than it has to. I don't want to watch it happen. It's not necessary.
All right.
It's too much.
All right. Does anybody else have anything? Because I still have a few more things. So
wow, really?
Yes, I do.
I gotta say, getting back to the trailer park crowd, there's one person in that crowd that should absolutely have a beef with this whole situation, and it's the guy who lent his truck.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Because I didn't seem like he was being an overt jerk that kind of like, ah, ha, ha, let's blow up his truck. He genuinely just like, sure, borrow my truck, and then it's involved in, destroying an alien ship. He's out his truck. Like, that's probably a big part of his world, and he gets nothing. I feel like maybe Centauri could have like tossed him a bone and give him a beta truck or something.
Amen. I was thinking the same thing about that scene. Yes.
Yeah. All right. See, when I think of the truck crashing into the little spaceship, I think of the light bulb thing that's supposed to look like an antenna. And I'm like, I've seen that light fixture before, and I just thought, wow, that's super cheap. Fine, I can deal with that. But the celebration at the end, the compositing of the Gunstar on that platform looks so out of place. It literally looks like a sore thumb that just sticks out, and that distracts me. I know they wanted a big celebration, a la the ceremony at the end of Star Wars where Chewbacca gets screwed, but they had to cut it down because they just couldn't afford it. Half of it looks good, but every time they do that wide shot and they show the Gunstar, I just like, that's all I see is the bad Gunstar. It's bad.
Mm-hmm.
So also we mentioned the Zor hologram and Zor, his portrayal. I mean, I know Liam made light of it earlier, but it's so over the top. It's almost annoying, and nothing really happens to him. And that's a bummer because he gets away and he gets arrested, but he gets away. It's like, he was just too comical for to be a good villain. The other guys, the Kodans were cool. Like, I liked those guys. Their masks, the like guy's little monocle thing, were very cool. But Zor's
Those
just
weren't masks. That was their face.
Well, no,
Wow.
well, they're helmets. Sorry, they're helmets.
Oh, okay.
And then the one guy had the little monocle that would flip over, and
we
die.
We
die.
Yes,
I mean,
we die.
very cool. Now, the one thing that's always kind of bothered me is I don't understand the frontier being down. What happened? They shoot the meteors through, which is a very cool scene and whatever, but why is it down? Does Zor have like a passcode or a key?
Yes, they talk about it.
He does. They talk about that's why Zor being a traitor is such a big deal, because he is one of their alien species, so he knows the codes. It's like in Spaceballs, like he knows the code to the air shield.
Right, but
and the same combination of my luggage.
But my thing is, like, when they get there, it's still there. It's not.
Yeah, but they have to cut the hole through it. But now they can cut the hole through it without making the whole system go alert status. He can just cut a hole through it and just keep on throwing meteorites through some tiny ships, and then they finally get the big ship through.
Yeah, I know. It just visually it didn't. I just kept, because I'm just used to like, oh, it's down, and like maybe it just actually things move apart or something, or they shut off.
You're thinking far too much of Guardians of the Galaxy than you are 1980s The Frontier.
No, I thought it back then too, but you're right.
Yeah, you thought Guardians of the Galaxy back then?
No, I did not, because I thought, I don't see how it's down. It's just a little
It's not protecting them anymore, so it's down. If it doesn't protect them, okay, you have an up status, a down status.
I understand that, but we don't see it up, so there's nothing. It doesn't look any different. They show that graphic, but it doesn't look any different.
They didn't have the money to show it to you.
That's probably true.
Imply it.
That's very true. So anyway,
and all those little dots. Yeah,
it's not a big deal. It's just a down doesn't look any different to me. But whatever, it's fine.
I think maybe what would have been more satisfying is if they would have just played into Zur's ego, and they've got whatever kind of space slingshot they used to sling meteors at the good guys. Outfit, like, play into his ego and say, here's your scepter, and we have this glorious ship that we made just for you. It's your chariot that you can lead our forces and all this other kind of stuff. Put him in it, lock it up, turn off the power, and then throw him with the slingshot. Just there you go.
Yeah,
we got your
like
passcodes. Bye bye.
I like that. We don't see a Zor that makes me think he's a good villain. He's just a petulant child, is what he is. And
that's the vibe he's supposed to have, though, I think.
I know, but nothing. I guess my biggest complaint is nothing happens to him.
Right.
what I
He
mean?
gets to escape
he
in the
gets
pod.
away, and that bums me out. And I understand they wanted to have a sequel. I get that, but it's still just kind of
Yeah, I would
there's
have
no
liked
payoff.
to.
There's
I would
no
have
payoff.
liked to see a Viserys payoff where like they like arrest him and it's like, and now we're gonna like do a Rathacon and put space worms in you or something. Like it would have been nice to have a
Kill him
payoff.
with his own scepter, you know?
Yeah,
Right, yeah.
Ugh, here's
Something.
your scepter.
All right. We're going to take a quick break and hear from some of our podcast friends. And when we come back, we are going to discuss some favorites and give this movie a rating.
Hey, check it out. There's a brand new podcast on the way exploring the discographies of the Beatles and the Beach Boys.
It's called Apples and Oranges, and it launches on February 7th.
We will be matching albums against each other in a 1v1 format, discussing every single track and then giving our verdict on which album is better.
Pet Sounds versus Revolver. Sergeant Pepper versus Smile.
Wouldn't it be nice if most people knew how well the Beach Boys actually held up against the Fab Four?
Both bands inspired each other to keep pushing the boundaries of what was possible in pop music here, there, and everywhere.
And what we got were some of the greatest albums of all time.
All Summer Long versus A Hard Day's Night. Rubber Soul versus the Beach Boys Today.
So let's come together for some fun, and help me, Rhonda, get this podcast off the ground. And we'll sure appreciate you being around on February 7th, wherever you find your podcast.
That's Apples and Oranges, February 7th.
Hey, I'm Lauren.
And I'm John.
And we host the Beard Al Podcast, the podcast where we talk about two of the greatest things in the world, beer and Weird Al.
And a lot of other things. We're funny.
Yeah, that's basically what I told him to say. Good job with your script.
Listened.
Yay! But no, seriously, we try and pair a beer with a Weird Al song and talk about both things and go where the conversation takes us. It's fun, I promise. You'll like it.
Yeah, I mean, if you like talking about random things as well as, you know, fine craft beers and some wonderful craft music.
Okay, Jason, test of our friendship. Which is better, Van Halen or Van Hagar?
Man, honestly, I think Van Hagar has better music.
Oh, no. It's Van Halen. You're wrong.
What about Michael Jackson's Bad album versus Michael Jackson's Thriller album?
Thriller, obviously. Bestseller, ever.
No. See, people trick themselves into believing that it's actually bad.
Okay, Trading Places versus Coming to America.
Trading Places is the funnier movie out of this deal.
No, Coming to America is the funniest movie of all time. So if you find yourself backing one of us or the other of us, you need to be listening to the Surely You Can't Be Serious podcast.
That's right. We have a friendly discussion. Dee and I are best buddies, and we take a deep dive and look at the behind-the-scenes stuff, the history and the fun facts of all these wonderful movies and music from our youth.
It's really just an opportunity for us to geek out about the things that we really loved growing up.
For example, do you know the actor that was in Star Wars, Batman '89, and Raiders of the Lost Ark?
Yeah, sure, it's Harrison Ford.
Harrison Ford wasn't in Batman.
Oh, yeah, Billy D. Williams.
Billy D. Williams was not in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Who was it?
Well, you've got to tune in to the Surely You Can't Be Serious podcast when we discuss Raiders of the Lost Ark versus Back to the Future to find out the answer.
Why are you smiling like that?
I just like to smile. Smiling's my favorite.
Make work your favorite. That's your favorite, okay?
Okay.
Work is your new favorite.
Fine.
All right, it's time for Smiling's My Favorite. This is where we discuss some favorite things about the movie. So, first of all, favorite character, Mike.
Oh, Greg.
Damn it. Didn't even hesitate. Greg.
Even the first time I saw it, I loved his character. He just draws you in. You know, I could see like a 6-year-old to 16-year-old embracing this character.
All right.
Yep.
So I just got to go with Greg.
All right. Disney John?
I'll go with Centauri then.
All right.
Strong second.
All right.
Yeah. I was like, Greg was number 1 for sure. Centauri was number 2. I had nothing after that.
All right. Scott.
Just to, be fair and share the love around, I'll say Maggie.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Yeah.
Girlfriend of the year for that.
Right.
For that. All the reasons I already said.
All right. Liam, favorite character.
I gotta go with Centauri. I love Centauri. I love, like, I grew up with the Music Man, so I enjoy seeing Robert Preston just be Harold Hill in space.
Mm-hmm.
And I enjoy like Like it's fun because he's kind of like you could argue that this role goes more to Greg because he does the more mentoring, but he's kind of our Obi-Wan where he's like come on, get out there, kid, like you can save the world. Like I'm getting too old for this sort of thing.
Right.
But it's funny to see our Obi-Wan be like a used car salesman, like he's a huckster and like a con man almost. Like and like I just love how excited Centauri is about everything. Like, come on, I want to show you space. It's so cool up here.
Well, I really enjoy the scene where he brings him back to Earth and his car breaks down, and he tells him, like mentions Columbus and stuff like that. He goes, if that's all you ever think you're going to be, a kid from a trailer park, then that's all you're going to be. Like he has some really good lines. He knows that Alex has it in him. And, even though, he complains he's broke and he doesn't have any of his money, but he saw something in him and he told him, it's like, if that's what you think of yourself, that's all you're ever going to be. So,
Stole my favorite scene, Dayton.
I didn't steal anything. So, I'm glad nobody picked him, but my favorite character is actually Lewis, the little brother.
Lewis.
His introduction, we walk around with that helmet and he's shooting everybody with a little dart gun. It's just hilarious.
Yes.
I mean, I'm laughing already. It's great. He's very funny in his reactions and they're very genuine. A lot of kid actors kind of can be very hit or miss, but he was very much perfect in the scenes he was in. Like we mentioned earlier with where Beta's fixing his head and like he wakes up and goes, "What the hell is going on?" And at the end of the movie, where he's like, "You hear that, you slimes? I'm famous." He's talking about, we meets Greg and then, of course, when he stands on the box at the video game as the Gunstar is taking off and just that great shot of him, wow, with all the smoke behind him. I just love it. So I thoroughly enjoy Lewis. So yeah, I would love to see an older Lewis in a sequel. But yeah, that was my favorite character. All right. Favorite scene, Mike.
The Death Blossom. It's corny, but at the same time, I'm like, as a kid, I'm like, yes, this is so possible. We could do this, and I was so into the movie that I didn't care how far out looking at this scene now as an adult is. It's like, okay, really, they're just gonna have this prototype that's gonna blast every starship that's out there. But at the time as a kid, I was rooting. I was sitting on the edge of my seat. I was like, this is brilliant. I love this. Yes, it's cool. So that's my favorite scene.
Yeah, it looks really cool though. I mean, it really does.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about it is, that's just the physics of it. In space, you have no gravity, so he wouldn't be getting car sick, if you will.
Right.
Right.
You know, so that even plays to a certain extent. There is no up or down. There is no. Everything is.
I love him spinning in the chair.
Exactly.
I love the gyroscopic control seat where he's like, then he goes upside down.
Hey,
it's so cool.
He's Tommy Lee in a drum kit,
Yes. Wild side.
I always wanted to sit down video game and be able to hit Death Blossom and see if it actually did that.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, baby.
That would be nice. All right. Disney John, favorite scene.
Mine's the heroic return to Earth. I've talked about it once already, but to me, that's the culmination of the whole movie. That's the feel good moment. He gets to come back. He gets the girl. I mean, that whole ending scene coming back I loved it. That was by far and away my favorite scene out of the entire movie. Death Blossom would be number 2 though.
All right. Scott?
So mine is, at the risk of stealing this from Liam, chatting with Greg and the Gunstar while hiding in the asteroid.
Oh, yeah, that's a good
because of several things that happen there.
Mm-hmm.
So you get the moment with Greg. You get Liam, you brought up the chair. I love the chair. I love they got to swing around to talk to each other and how that kind of operates. It took me back to Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
I got to give it to Dan O'Herlihy for playing Greg and Greg's own wife.
Right.
In that scene. The only thing is that it did make me kind of think, like, strategically, if I'm D&D in this thing, I wouldn't have flown the Gunstar out of the asteroid because you had the giant ship in complete view. It feels like, why wouldn't you just stay in the asteroid, fire off a couple of shots to do some damage, and then come out? Like, you've got the stealth advantage.
You gotta cripple them first.
Right.
You gotta use. You had an attack of opportunity.
Yeah.
Got a perfect sniper opportunity, but
the underbelly is passing across the asteroid, and they're even calling out, "There's a turret," and I'm like, "Then shoot the damn thing!" You know,
take out that gun so we can't shoot you later.
I can tell you exactly why they didn't. 'Cause, I remember coming across this. It was in the script.
That's what it was.
That was it. That was the only reason, because I thought the same damn thing. I'm like, blow him up now. Like come on, people.
Yeah, that would have been boring though. All right, Liam, favorite scene?
You mentioned it already, Dayton. I love that dialogue when the car breaks down of like, I'm just some like poor schmuck from a trailer park, and it's like, if that's what you think, then that's all you'll ever be. Because I love that idea in Into the Spider-Verse and The Matrix, and it's kind of a better movie, Dark City. I love that idea of like, at some, like, you can learn all the things, but at the end of the day, you have to have faith in yourself.
Right.
You have to believe, like it doesn't matter that you're just a poor kid from trailer park or a poor kid from Brooklyn. Like the spider still bit you. You can still be Spider-Man. You got that high score. You have the potential. You can do this. You have to believe that you can. You have to make that leap of faith. You have to go, and you have to commit.
Right.
Because that faith will make it happen.
Liam, you got the line, leap of faith. Love it.
It's a leap of faith.
Man. Oh, it's such a good line.
Nice.
Also, my other favorite leap of faith is in Last Crusade. The last trial. Like, it's a leap of faith. Oh, jeez.
Right.
Yep.
All right. So my favorite scene is when Alex comes back to the trailer park and interacts with Beta, who's sleeping in his bed. So I just love the discussion between the two of them, and when they talk about Maggie, it's like, well, what did you do to Maggie? And it's, he explains, she stuck her tongue in my ear, and then they're being loud enough, and Lewis wakes up, and they both go, "Sorry, Lewis," right at the same time. I love that.
I love that in sync. Sorry,
yes,
Lewis.
it's wonderful. And then Beta's line though is fantastic. Save the whales, but not the universe, huh? And of course the Save the Whale sticker is right behind him on the wall. You love that. But it's like I said, Lewis adds to it because he wakes up, he's like, "What the shit?" He's like, "Back to sleep, Lewis, or I'll tell Mom about your Playboys." And the fact that they both say that, it's just so much fun.
Yeah.
And and of course, we have Zan shows up right after that. But yeah, it's a great scene, and I just love that. And it looks great too, because you have two Alexes and they, two Lance guests, and it looks really, really good. So favorite trailer park resident, Mike.
I like Granny with her shotgun.
Yep.
That doesn't surprise me, actually, Mike. That really doesn't surprise me. All right, Disney John.
Moving to my second player, we're going to go to Elvira.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Because I thought they talk about her throughout the entire movie. Really, if you think about it, it's like, hey, you got to go fix Elvira's thing. You got to go do this for Elvira. So it's like Elvira's name is mentioned several times. So like Elvira.
Should be mad if she can't watch her soaps.
Yeah,
right.
Take up Skippy. That's passed around the telephone style, and they got that shit right the whole way through.
All right, Scott.
Would have been so fantastic if Elvira, Mistress of the Dark,
I was
poked
just
her head
gonna
out
say
for a
that.
cameo.
I was just gonna say, wouldn't it have been funny if you didn't see her for the entire movie until the scene where he comes back to Earth for his like medal ceremony, and you pan through the crowd, and there's Elvira, Mistress of the Dark.
Exactly.
Oh, man.
Big fun there. I'd have to go with Otis.
Yep.
So he's got so many people. Alex has so many people that are supporting him, and Otis seems like he's also helping to fix the place and keep the whole place running. and he's the whole time encouraging, like, go do what you got to do. You got to go into outer space. I'll take care of all this stuff. Like he's played very, very well, and I just think he's a very lovable character. So
yeah, that was my pick too. He's everyone should have a mentor like him in their life, and he's like got to grab him with both hands, and he's a very positive influence. He's obviously somewhat of a father figure for Alex now that which we never know really what happened to the dad. So but interesting. So yeah, that was my choice too. Liam, your favorite trailer park resident.
I couldn't pick him as my favorite character, so I chose him as my favorite trailer park resident. I love Alex's little brother, Lewis. He is. I feel like, because it would have been so easy to, you see this kind of little brother character a lot, where it's like they go too Annie with it, where it's just like jeepers, I sure am cute. But I feel like this is such a better and more enjoyable character because he's so much more realistic. That is a real little brother that everyone has had at some point. He's a little shit.
Yes.
He's a little shit. He's shooting people with his dart gun.
Which is hilarious.
Playboy. He's got Playboy magazines. He is constantly just like, I'm an agent of chaos, and I have no interest in anything but my reign of terror.
You hear that, you slimes? I'm famous. Sorry, just such a great line. Just such a great line.
It's so good. It's
amazing. All right. Favorite sci-fi themed arcade game, Mike.
Well, because it was there and I mentioned it earlier, I really did enjoy the original Star Wars video game.
Yep. 100%.
It like I said, I went to the cinema many times and played it, waiting for the movies to come up. And then when this movie came out, it just kind of, I romanticized about the possibility of this being real, and maybe they'll recruit you to be something. And that game, even though the graphics obviously were subpar, I always enjoy it. Yeah.
All right.
We used to let go of the handles when we were flying it, when we were in the trench. He goes, "Let go, Luke. Use the force." We were required, if we were with our friends, to let go for a full 2 seconds and then re-grab it. That's how we played. That was the expert level.
All right.
I still do it today. Well, since that Star Wars has been taken, I'll move on to my number 2, which was Tempest, which was a sci-fi themed one. It was also showed up in our video game one, as Tempest being one of my number 1 games. It's fun. It's pretty easy shooter game. It's pretty abstract, really, when you think about it.
Yeah,
but
very
it's
abstract.
a good game. It's a good game. I like it. Sci-fi. That's what I went with.
I was so bad at that game. I did not play it very much at all.
It ate a lot of my quarters like Star Wars did.
Yeah. All right, Scott.
Oh God, I've got 5. But the one that I'll mention, is the Aliens video game.
Oh, that's a good
one.
Okay.
A fairly straightforward adaptation in that it's just a Double Dragon kind of side scroller, shoot 'em up like the X-Men game. But there was, I feel like the sound design was done really well. And I remember one particular level where you can be riding in the NPC or whatever they call that giant car. And basically just you're driving while shooting the aliens. It was kind of a different perspective they gave to it.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Liam?
I'm gonna go with I have to. It's so hard to choose because they're both so fun. But I will go with Asteroids. I did not have a lot of video game in my life growing up, like on the regular. But the one thing that I remember very well from a young age is my grandmother hooking up an Atari, and there was like an adventure. I think it might have been adventure. You're going through, you got to get the keys as you go through
adventure.
The castle maze. Yeah, adventure. But that one and Asteroids. I played Asteroids all the time. I loved the sort of similar to the way that the Gunstar moves. I loved staying in one spot and just spinning around in a circle. I loved the way you when you would stop your thrust, you wouldn't 100% stop. You kind of skidded, like to give the effect of weightlessness in space. I loved the movement. I loved the combat. I was good at it because it's not too hard to do. But I loved me some asteroids, just some real simple spaceship shoot laser, rocks go boom.
Rocks go boom.
Rocks go boom.
That was the tagline, I believe. Anyway,
that was the tagline. Asteroids, rocks go boom.
So my favorite, I honestly I can't remember if I mentioned. I think I actually did mention it on our arcade episode, John. Zaxxon was actually one of my favorite. Yeah, it was just so cool, and I liked, I was not great at it, but I was better at it than a lot of the other sci-fi ones. I love the Star Wars one, but this one, because of the 3D aspect of it, was a lot more interesting. But yeah, I love the sound too. The sound design was fantastic. But
I'm surprised you didn't take Tron.
Yeah, I was wondering about that one.
I thought about it, but to me, this one was just, it was just more different. It was just different, because there were so many, like Galaga was just pretty much, and Galaxy was kind of the same game, and this one was just a little bit different, and that's why I liked it. So
the cabinet design for Tron was fantastic.
Well, yes, it was.
Yes, it was.
Oh, that's sweet
cabinet design. Yeah, one of these days I'll get one in my house.
I just want to throw out an honorable mention to Don Bluth's Space Ace.
Oh my God, Space Ace!
Those looked so good, but I was so bad at those.
Well, that's because you were bad at Dragon Slayer too.
Yes, because it was. Oh man,
you gotta hit it.
And
I was much better at Space Ace.
It was more annoying than Dragon Slayer, because in Dragon Slayer you got that death of like the cool like drop, and then you see him kind of fall apart. But in Space Ace, it was that Infanta Ray that turned him into like this small, supremely annoying version of himself.
It looked great, but it was so difficult, so hard.
All of you have PTSD from those games.
Pretty
if
much.
anyone sees an object flashing yellow, you like have
I gotta say, of all the video games I played, that one probably sucked the most quarters from me the fastest.
Because there was $1 to play the damn thing.
Yes, and you had to wait in a line.
Yes, you did.
With the guy who's the pro that's like, spending all day so that everybody can be dazzled about his, the brilliance and whatever. But you're standing there waiting, taking all the time you have to play in Aladdin's castle, sitting there with your $1, and then you finally get up and you're like, yeah, wait, I died.
It's like
died instantly.
Yeah, no lives, just that's it.
Yeah, it was no fun. It looked great and no fun. Anyway. All right. Time for any final thoughts and a rating on a 1 to 5 film reel. So, Scott, final thoughts and rating, please.
I think this is definitely one that needs to be preserved. I know that they're talking about a sequel, which is fantastic. I think it's worth, showing generations and having a physical media copy. When they do make the sequel, I would love for the somehow the promotion for it have like a leaderboard in an arcade game, and have initials for the characters that are going to be in it, like LOU and XUR and GRG.
Yes, right.
That'd be great to see. I'll give this one a 4, a reluctant 4 that was almost a 3, because the graphics in it, I know as soon as I show this to anybody, like, my youngest, he's probably gonna be like, whoa, the graphics in this are dated. And it's like, it's okay. Suspension of disbelief. Just go ahead with it. But I mean, the story is great. I think the acting is really well done. And you've got so many great actors, and the beta unit story, if nothing else, just sells it.
Yeah.
Agreed. Liam?
I agree. I feel like this movie is at a like kind of a delicate, dangerous point, because like it's just iconic enough to like have its cemented place in pop culture, but it could very easily kind of fade out in a couple of years if we're not careful. So like I feel like it does deserve like a sequel, or something needs to happen to this movie to make sure it's not just like another like forgotten relic of the 80s. Like, no, this is actually a really high quality story that I feel like deserves, like, it's something that we need. We need this type of story to like help us believe in ourselves. I'm going to go with the full 5. I'm going to go with the full 5.
Wow.
Just
Okay.
because, like, I feel like the pros vastly outweigh the cons. And, like, we can discuss semantics if we like, but at the end of the day, it's just a fun ride.
All right. Mike?
So I'm kind of intrigued as to what this movie was up against when it first was released, because this movie hits on a lot of cylinders to make it a very good, successful movie. And I'm not saying it's not, but it's like, why is it being swept under the rug so easily? Because I remember watching it. I never saw it on cable. I don't know if like Sci-Fi Channel picked it up or, I hadn't forgot about it because it had obviously made an impression on me.
Right.
But I'm like, this movie has all the things that we've discussed and all these pros that makes me wonder, why is it not held more critically higher than it was scored? It doubled its money. It probably could have done even better. I think the graphics, we talked about the CGIs. This and Tron were 2 groundbreaking movies that did
Yes.
it. And so you had that. The acting was good. The actors that were chosen, I think, were excellently done. Like I said, it hits on all cylinders. So to me, to see where it's like, 75% on Rotten Tomatoes, or Siskel and Ebert gave it, this, that, and the other. I'm going to put it in, the 4 reels kind of
All right.
thing.
All right.
Yeah, I agree with Liam. I don't want to see this movie get swept under the rug and disappear.
Yeah, I know that summer we had Ghostbusters, Gremlins, Indiana Jones and Temple of Doom. So it was a busy summer. I know for the summer it finished number 12, and for the year it finished, I believe, number 26. So, which isn't bad. It did break even, but when you have so many other iconic movies that summer, that's kind of why it gets, I think, somewhat forgotten. All right, Disney John, final thoughts on the rating?
I think this is a classic sci-fi movie that most people underrate, and it's very good. It's a very heartwarming story that's told very well, beginning to end, regardless of you have to remember, it's the 80s. Some of this crap is so ridiculous and over the top. Zor, let's point him out again. But it is so good. It's just a good movie. It's heartwarming. It ends nicely. It ends with all the things tied up except for Zur again. But it's a good movie. I highly recommend it to everybody, and I give it a 4.
All right. All right. So, I like I said before, I do love the movie. I've bought it twice. I watched it numerous times. There are some goofs. There are some things that, it didn't age well because, of the graphics. Yes, I know that. Same with Tron. I love Tron, but by today's standards, it's silly. But, there's other little things that bother me, and I mentioned, some of them earlier. So for me, I definitely think people should see it. It's a fun movie. I would almost think that a lot of people that, the 20 somethings and stuff like that watch now, and to Scott's point, his kids would be like, whoa, that looks old.
Yeah.
and it's true. But yeah, the story's good and I enjoy it. But for me, as much as I enjoyed it, it's a 3 out of 5 film reels for me, because I like that it doesn't feel like a Spielberg or Star Wars movie, and it's different enough. But I wish that we would have gotten more time with some of the characters. It's like they didn't even give us a lot of time to even get to know Alex before all of a sudden he's rushed off to space. So to me, I would like to have a little bit more with the characters. And but yeah, either way, it's still worth seeing. It's fun, and 3 out of 5 film reels for me.
So real quick, do you think that that's because of the storytelling today is more of a 2-hour, 2.5-hour, 3-hour movie thing, and back in the 80s it was like you get a good 90-minute type flick, and that's why we didn't get to spend time with them?
No, well, probably, but at the same time, I think if you look at the other, I'm not taking a shot at him, but if you look at the other stuff that Nick Castle directed, it's not like directing is his strength. So I'm thinking maybe in the hands of somebody else, maybe we got a little bit, more character development, a little bit more interaction with people and, stuff like that. So, but yeah, you're right. I mean, that's the 80s it was known for 90 minutes and, oh, we're done, but
hour and a half out.
Right. But a lot of those also managed to get a lot of more character. This one kind of leaned a little bit into the visuals, a little bit more. Very well done, gentlemen. It was fun to discuss this movie. And like I said, I apologize for taking way too long to get to talk about this, but I'm glad we did. And it was a lot of fun. So as always, thank you, Mike, for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Liam.
As always, glad to be a part of the fleet, Captain.
And thank you, Disney John.
Absolutely. I love always being here.
And Scott, why don't you tell us what's coming up on a film buy? I know you have a new Star Trek series you guys are.
Yeah, it's so much fun. So building on what we've done with Lower Decks and Strange New Wednesdays, Phaser Set to Stun is an ongoing Trek-focused series. We're blasting through Star Trek The Next Generation with a curated top 10 list for first-time viewers or people who just kind of want to dust off a season and remember what it's like. Dave Burns and I are also getting into a film at 45 for 1979. Got some great episodes in the hopper, including The Warriors with Apache Ramos, one of the orphans, the war chief of the orphans there.
Nice.
And then we're going to dive into 1996.
Really?
Series like that. Yeah. So if you're a fan of 86 and 76, buckle up for the 90s.
Very cool.
Nice.
Very cool. Excited for that one. All right. I'd take a minute to thank our listeners for stopping by and spending time with us. There are a lot of choices, a lot of things out there you can listen to, so it makes us very happy and humbled that you take time out of your day to spend it with us. So thank you very much. All of our social media information is in the show notes. Please reach out to us on social media. Let us know what you think about The Last Starfighter. Do you agree with me, Disney John, Mike, Scott, or Liam? Thoughts on it? Do you want the sequel? Let us know what you think. Twitter, I refuse to call it X. Twitter, Facebook, and Discord. Join our Discord and chat with us 24/7. And if you're so inclined, you can join our Patreon and support the show. Over on there, our Patreon members get early access to episodes, behind-the-scene videos of upcoming episodes, as well as exclusive content. If you cannot afford the $1 to $5 a month, do us a favor and share us on social media. Share us with your family and friends and coworkers. And you know what? As far as I'm concerned, more people, more better. Some upcoming episodes for February. We have Anthrax, Among the Living, Top 7 Celebrity Crushes, Public Enemies, It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back, as well as John Singleton's Boys in the Hood. It's going to be a very busy and eclectic February. Do yourself a favor, watch more movies. And remember, physical media is better than streaming. The Docking Bay 77 podcast is produced and edited by Dayton Johnson. Recorded with Rode Pod mics, the Zoom PodTrack P4, and edited on Audacity. Opening music provided by Eric Jason Brock. You can find him on YouTube and Bandcamp. Thank you for listening.